Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary here for the Geek Pride cast on this Monday evening. With me tonight, we have my co-host, Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening, everyone.
And our special guest tonight, Kathryn Evans. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
You have extremely pink hair.
I do have extremely pink hair. Yes.
I had a phase when I had a phase where every girlfriend I had for a good 10 years had pink hair. It was my thing. I used to have all the girlfriends I had for many
Was I
years.
one of them, Matt? I don't think so. I can't see your face, but I suspect I'm about 40 years too old.
No. So, Kathryn, who are you? What do you do? What's your thing?
So, the reason I met Pete is because I write science fiction novels for young adults. I've got quite a following with adults thanks to lockdown. I write kind of contemporary stories, but with a bit of a science fiction twist and a little spoonful of horror in the mix. So that's one of the things I do alongside running a farm and running 2 spaniels around planet.
What sort of
general life stuff.
What sort of farm do you run?
Well, up until now, it's been soft fruit, strawberries and raspberries. We've had a little bit of a break. I think we're going to come back and start something new, but I'm not sure watch this space. I don't, because I won't be here. I'll be out on the farm probably.
So that's some early mornings then? Early mornings, and actually, I don't know. Is it early mornings if you've got sort of like, if there's no cows and
not
things
for
like
me.
that? No?
Not for me. Well, no, we don't have any livestock, but my son works with livestock, and he doesn't seem to mind it anymore. Happy to get out and see cats. But not for me. No, I've done my stint of early morning. I used to cut celery years and years ago, and we used to have to get up at 4 a.m. start work at 5, so that celery would be on the lorry by midday.
4 a.m.'s a bedtime, not a getting up time.
4 a.m. That's just cruelty, right? That's just evil.
Yeah, I swear I never saw. I was still awake at pretty much 4 a.m. every night, a sci-fi weekender.
Oh, sci-fi weekender. Honestly, I felt like Friday. So arrived Thursday. Amazing awards night. I mean, mind completely blown. And then, of course, our wonderful friend Bryony Pierce receiving her award. So we had to celebrate, and the whole thing being sponsored by Jägermeister, and basically a near kill.
That's carnage right there.
Like a teenager who had no concept of what alcohol would do to your body. I was trying to impress Brian Blessed with how chill I was. Really, I just wanted a cold flannel on my head and lie down.
But so you were trying to impress Brian Blessed by necking Jaeger bombs?
Oh no! The next day, I probably still smelled of Jaeger the next day. What even is it? It's just, what is it made of?
I don't
Cough
know,
medicine.
but
It's cough medicine, basically.
It doesn't taste too bad. Jaeger bombs don't actually taste too bad. I remember the last time I went big with the Jaeger bombs was a very long time ago, because they don't taste too bad, because obviously the Red Bull mixed with them kind of sort of gives it an all right taste and stuff. So I was going out with my one of my exes at the time, and she was bringing out a load of her friends, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna impress all the boyfriends and stuff like that. I'm an Irishman, I gotta drink big. So I started like necking. I was like, Jaeger bombs, like necking Jaeger bombs and stuff, going for it. Everybody else like, oh, Jaeger bombs, okay, more Jaeger bombs going on. Everybody's getting drunk, and Matt's getting really drunk and stuff, because he's acting up like a child. So he's just sitting there kind of necking Jaeger bombs, and I got to the point where I knew, like, I've got this thing where I know when I'm really drunk, and I'll generally stop, but I kind of pushed myself past that slightly, and I went, oh my god, I'm really drunk. I'm really drunk. And I sort of like remember sort of stumbling and then smashing into the bouncer by mistake. And he just looked at me, and I didn't even fight it. I just went, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. And I just walked. I took myself out. I sort of took myself by the scruff of the neck and walked out without an argument without arguing with the bouncer, because I knew I was fucked. I was completely all over the place. So I was like, I know. And then proceeded to sort of like initially sort of kind of do the whole sort of, my girlfriend was inside at the time, mortified that I effectively kicked myself out of a bar, but I was like literally just like pulling up my top and pushing it up against the window and generally being a nuisance, and then proceeded to go, oh, I'm gonna be very sick, and I just vomited everywhere, like everywhere. And I thought this was great, because
made me feel a lot better.
Yeah,
made me feel a lot better about my performance.
Yeah,
on that.
this made
there
me
was
feel,
none of that.
well, see, generally, I'm never sick when I'm drunk, like ever. I think I've been sick twice in my life. Once being that time, and once when I was a teenager. Like, I'm never sick when I'm drunk, because I always stop myself just before. And because at the time my ex was a big drinker, and she was always getting really drunk, and I was always having to sort of like hold her hair over the toilet and generally sort of look after her when she was drunk. And I thought this was glorious, because I was being sick, and I was like, she's gonna have to look after me for once. And I thought it was brilliant. So I was just like off, and I was just well enjoying the fact that I was having to get carried home, and then having the bucket beside me in the house. So the second I was like, how the tables have turned. Worst hangover ever.
What happened to that girlfriend, Matt?
Oh, we broke up, unfortunately. Straight after that event. No, I'm joking.
Okay, but yeah, we got diverted by Jaeger bombs, didn't we?
Everybody gets diverted by Jaeger
bombs.
No,
that was not my fault. That was the Jägermeister's fault. It is always the fault of the Jägermeister.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Basically, like just staying up late every night until 4 a.m. and then just getting up at about 10 if I'm lucky, and then trying to get back to normalcy, like for the Mondays. Like that was a struggle. I mean, how did you find it? Like, no, I mean, you don't wake up at 4 a.m. anymore, thank goodness. But when you're juggling like the two jobs, like the farm and your writing, how do you kind of find time for both?
Actually, it's a really good day to ask me that question, because today has been a really difficult day. Let me tell you about my day. No, not in a terrible way, just in a juggling kind of way. So I'm really on a roll with my writing now. So it's at the front of my mind, and I really want to be working. So I took the dogs out for a walk this morning. This is the kind of place I live. Walking back, and I decided to come up across the main road, and there were two horses loose. The traffic is backed up in every direction. It's coming three ways. There's a car pulling out from a side road, hasn't seen these horses. I'm trying to catch the horses and manage my two very excited spaniels. Managed to get hold of the horses on the verge. Somebody else has called the police. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what do I do? You've met me, Pete. I'm very small. Two large horses and two small dogs, but feisty. It was a lady came to help me, which was good. And I'm like, what do I do? So I called one of their neighbours to try and get these horses. But meanwhile, the police have come along, and they're like, what are you doing with these horses on this verge? They're not my horses. I deny all knowledge of the horses. Dogs, mine, not the horses. Anyway, sort it all out, and I get home, and then I've got a ton of stuff to do for the farm, because I've just taken on some new stuff, because it's a new project that we're doing. Exciting, and there are things about to happen, and it's been ages since I've dealt with pensions. This is how thrilling it is, farming. It's just like any other job as an employer. You've got to look after your staff, and I didn't get to my writing until quite late this afternoon, and then my children called me. My children who have left me to go to the other side of the world, so when they call, I drop everything.
Whereabouts are they?
So I juggle, and it takes me a very long time to write a book, and sometimes it's really frustrating. But I also, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. So in some ways it works quite well for me, because I'm in my 50s now. I've learned lots of coping mechanisms, and one of the things that I've always been able to try to do is if I cannot focus on one thing, I'll jump to something else that is productive but different.
Yeah.
so that things actually get done.
I recently got diagnosed with ADHD with the potential for ASD, and I understand that oh too well. It's like you'll if you're not interested in something, it will literally take those two wild horses to drag you to do something. It's like it doesn't matter if you're in. It's like I love history and things like that, but when I was studying for history, I couldn't do it because it was forcing me to do something I didn't want to do. My brain just doesn't work like that, so you have to sort of kind of.
It's like a physical block.
It is
it's
physical
it's hard
block.
To explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not it's not laziness. It's literally your brain going nope, 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 nope. And if you try to do it, when you can't do it, you're like, your brain's all it's doing is thinking about how horrible that thing is and how you could be doing something more productive with something else.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll be needing to do something. I don't know, clean my house or something like that, or put my Christmas decorations up or something, and I will literally just focus on something else and do something else because it's like, well, that's a bit more productive, or I'll do that instead and not do the thing because I'm forcing myself to do it. My brain doesn't like it being forced to do things and stuff, so I have to sort of work around it, and I sort of find that I dip in and out of things, and so what I try to do is I reward myself. So if I know I'm in one of those places where I'm just not going to do something, I'll go, right, well, I'll sit down and I'll do this, but then I will get this done, and then you sort of kind of bounce back and forth to try and get it sorted. But I understand that feeling very, very well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But since kind of, because I went through this thing, I don't know if you did, do I want to get a diagnosis of AI? And after thinking about it, I thought actually it won't make any difference to me because I have learned how to manage my life, and I'm fortunate that I can. It's structured in a way that I can. But the one thing it did for me, accepting that is probably the case, is it's allowed me permission to feel okay about the way my brain works, and okay about my coping strategies, and it's been a bit of a relief really to just go, oh, that's probably that, and that's okay. I will go and get on with that, and then I can come back and do it. But the hard thing is, today was one of those days where I had to do the things I didn't want to do, and the thing that I really wanted to do. Sometimes you get that intense concentration where you just can't stop thinking about a thing.
Hyperfocus, you hyperfocus.
The hyperfocus was not on the work that I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's on something else.
So it's been a tricky day. So that the answer to your question, Pete, is complicated, but somehow I chunk it down and just manage to get it done. And when the farm was going full tilt and I was a full-time mum, I was working full-time mum, and trying to get my book deal, my first book deal. So I'm trying to treat writing like it's my profession. It was really hard and I was really tired. I just pulled really long days, and I did get up early and I did go to bed late, and that was the only way to do it. But I'm grimly determined when I've decided on a course of something I want to do.
That's the thing, is you get hyperfocus is it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it can be an absolute godsend if you want to do something and you want to do it like properly. Then you will sort of hyper, and I've got a lot of hobbies and stuff where I'm just literally, where I just zone in onto something and there's nothing that will do. And it happens in work sometimes. Somebody will do something or get me to do something and I can't figure it out, but my brain will go, you want to figure this out, and I will literally just spend hours, days, weeks obsessing about this. And it's great because you do this thing, you figure it out, but you've ignored everything else because you're all
it's great when it's the right thing. It's great when you haven't got other things you're meant to be doing.
I would say with the diagnosis thing, I was on the similar sort of view that I was pretty confident I had it. Like I knew I had dyslexia and stuff ages ago, but then in the last sort of like 6 or 7 years, I thought I'm pretty sure I've got ADHD as well. But it's one of those things. It's like, maybe it's just me. People sort of say, well, this is what this is and this is, and you're kind of going, is that just me trying to put a squaring a circle, or is it actually something I do? But like as time went on, I said, yeah, I do that. I hyperfocus. I'm impulsive. I'm bad with money. My memory's horrible. I've got a bazillion hobbies. I've got all these other things. So every box was being ticked, every single box, and I was like, well, I'm aware of it now, and I'm kind of trying my best to sort of deal with it. And I had, like yourself, I had coping mechanisms to deal with it, but I would fall off the wagon so much. Like I had certain things I knew I was doing it, but sometimes I just couldn't help myself. Sort of like doing just not doing things, not sorting things out, and I was just like, I need something to sort of, I need some sort of other coping mechanisms. So because one of my friends and my sister was diagnosed with it, and they said it really helped. And they're on sort of, I can't remember the name of the medication, but basically it doesn't cure it, but it basically gives you focus. So that inner voice that's in your head arguing with you all the time is quiet.
Yeah, the noise.
The noise inside your head's quiet, and therefore you're able to actually do tasks. So instead, obviously, that dopamine level, which isn't there, which only comes for the things you want to do, is that it's more of a straight line. So you can actually do tasks that you don't want to do, because there's that's minimum dopamine level that helps you actually start tasks and then sort of carry them on. So it was partially that, and it was partially just the sort of being able to justify why I was who I was. Now, the thing I had when I talked to psychiatrists and stuff, and he kind of went through all these different questions and stuff like that, and he did sort of mention the ASD thing, which sort of kind of sometimes interlocks with ADHD. And he said you're 100% ADHD with a profile for potentially ASD as well. And at that moment, I just kind of went, I got really upset. I had no idea why. I just sort of was like, at the time, no, I said, I knew this was going to happen, and I was pretty confident he was going to tell me that I was ADHD. But as soon as he told me, my eyes started watering. I got really sort of kind of upset about it. And it was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Like I knew how I was, as much, all those struggles, everything I had done in the past, from being in school all the way up, for the relationships, all kind of things, was in the way not justified, but it wasn't me just being thick or me being lazy or me sort of, there was something, there was a chemical, like that feeling you had that you knew something's wrong with you, but you just can't, is it just me being lazy, or is it just you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would frame it a little bit differently, because I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think neurodivergence it becomes a problem because we're expected to fit into a certain kind of way of behavior, and if you don't fit in that, then people who are not neurodivergent don't like it. So I kind of view it in a different way, and frame it in a different way. It's different. It's not, we're not sick, we're not poorly. It's difficult to function sometimes. I mean, my hardest thing actually is when I get kids in school say to me, how do you cope with this? And I'm like, I don't know how you cope with it in school. I don't know, because you're so constricted. I mean, I was so badly behaved at school. I mean, I'm ashamed. I've been back to my school since. They have let me back in, but I was banned from my school library. Some kids were asking me the other day, why were you banned? And I was like, what did you do that got you banned? What I did, I decided, here we go, some impulsive behavior for you, Matt.
Yeah.
I decided it'd be a really good, fun idea to climb over the tops of the bookshelves and leap from the tops of bookshelves.
Yeah.
So, and I look at these kids who are saying to me, how do you cope? And I think I didn't cope at school. I was terribly badly behaved. I got no exam results. No excuses. I didn't do the work, but maybe this is what upset you. Maybe you were upset for the kids that didn't have someone go, okay, this is what's going on. Here's how we can manage it.
Yeah, that was it. It was more the like I got a 2-2 in my degree, and I got a 2-2 by just literally doing nothing. It was just what I had in my head and stuff like that, and it's just one of those things. Had I had some sort of coping mechanism, I had something that maybe would quieten my brain, I could have actually done a degree, which I enjoyed. I loved my degree, I had the military history degree, and it was a really good degree, but I didn't give it everything because my brain was just like, this is Manchester, it's a new place, let's do this, let's do this, let's do all these other things. And I was flitting around and not doing what I should be doing, like studying for my degree. I did my dissertation of 14,500 words, which I had a year for, in 2 days. I did it in 2 days.
Oh, that's so classic. That's just classic.
Yeah, exactly.
I think by that stage, I managed to sort a lot of my shit out. It's just tiring.
Yeah.
It's just really tiring all the time, just managing and trying to fit in to different, to a world that doesn't really accommodate you.
Yeah, well,
and it is exhausting.
I think there's certain jobs. So the job I'm in now, and I had a job, not the last one, but one before that, because they didn't have a very pressure orientated sort of work. It was basically, this is your job. We want this basically by the end of the year. It's fine what you do in between then. That sort of worked with me. So in this job I've got now, they have certain things they want me to do, but there's no like loads of pressure. So my mind can wander and I can do other things in between it. And because I work from home, I can sort of take myself off from my brain sort of wandering, do my thing, but I'll come back. And because I can work later or I can start earlier and things like that, I can just do what needs to be done. And it sort of, and it goes well. So, I'm quite, people like me in work, and I seem to be doing all right and stuff. And it's because I'm giving my own sort of leeway to do it my way effectively. And there's no, like, the last job I had was like, you have to have this done by this. If you're in 5 minutes, even 5 minutes late, you're going to get shouted at. If you do this, you're going to get sort of bollocks. You're going to get trailed into a room because of this and blah, blah, blah. I'm basically micromanaged, and being micromanaged when you're ADHD does not work at all.
So what more of an example do you need of how there's nothing actually wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, it's not about,
I think it's more like a different way of thinking, like different. You learned how to approach life differently, having a goal orientated rather than a scheduled regime.
Yeah.
You know where you got to go to. That is a fixed point.
Yeah.
How you get there is your own route. You make your route yourself.
But it's also,
I like that, Pete.
it's also with me. I think it's more, I've made a lot of bad decisions, money wise as well. Horrible money. Put myself in a lot of debt a lot of times. If it weren't for the fact I had very understanding parents, I'd be in a very bad place. And women as well. Bad decisions, really bad decisions, because you sort of go
I will say one thing. Bad relationship is not just an ADHD thing; it's a human thing.
I understand that, but I think when it comes to my history, you probably kind of go, yeah, there's definitely I would tend to go for relationships that were rocky, because fine, you didn't get the lows were really low, but when you got that high, you got that dopamine spike, because you're just thinking,
and you're after that dopamine hit.
Yeah, so it was like and so I would just go for certain types of women, and it was always rocky, and it would be like really low lows, but then really high highs, because you're trying to crave that sort of kind of hit and stuff, and you'd be in relationships longer than you should be, and lots of bad stuff happens. And it's, I don't even blame them, I blame myself, because it's something I should have been able to sort of see and deal with, and I couldn't. I could tell other people, I could see it when it was other people, but it was me. I was always like, yeah, but I'm trying to be a nice guy, and I'm trying to do this and blah blah blah, and there was lots of other things. So the idea of maybe even having a little bit of medication or therapy or something when I was younger, just kind of going, look, this is going to quieten you out. Maybe you'll think about this more straight. That's what upset me, because there's a lot of things that decisions I probably wouldn't have made. But conversely, and this is what makes me feel better about it, is that there's a lot of people I would have never have met. I wouldn't have a dog. I wouldn't have there's a lot of people who I cherish in my life that I wouldn't have had I not made decisions that I made. I wouldn't be in this house. I wouldn't be in my friends down the road. So you've got, I'm the godfather to their son and stuff. Wouldn't have met them had I not made those decisions and stuff. And it's like, so I look at it that way. It's just like, fine. It's a line it's a line in the sand. It's something that I not regret, but it's something that I'm upset about, but it's like
I accept
it, and then it's now it's sort of moving on. And because I know I'm more because I know I'm more sort of, and it's 100%, it's not me just thinking, oh, I must be a bit ADHD because I saw something on TikTok. It's because I've been diagnosed. I know, right, this is definitely ADHD behavior or ASD behavior.
So you know the signs to look for.
And then I can sort of regiment myself slightly.
Can the life of a writer kind of fit in well for neurodivergence?
I don't know, because I'm who I am.
Yeah.
So I can't compare it to something else, but I do know I have many friends, writer friends, who are very definitely neurodivergent. There's quite a few friends who are autistic. Maybe the coincidence isn't the writing. Maybe the coincidence is the people I am friends with. I don't know. But it works for me.
Yeah.
It works for me because I'm quite prepared to chunk things down and fit things in when I can. Examples are like when my kids were little and I'd be taking them to ballet or swimming or whatever, I would be able to sit and work for just 20 minutes. Have that hyper focus in that slot until I'm literally snapped out of it by a child with a wet swimming costume. And that is a gift, because lots of people can't do that. Lots of people need to have like 8 hours to sit and think and come to something and work their way around it. And I would be chewing the table doing that, really, unless I was in a state of hyper focus. I don't know. Who knows? We're all different, aren't we?
Yeah, I find I have like one day a week where I have like time to solely just work through the entire day. But every other day, it's like there's something happening. Like I've got to go down to the shops on a bike. I've got to go down the field. I've got to go and do a food shop and what have you, or I need to go to the doctors. Something breaks it up that day, which kind of makes it easier almost for writing, because it's a hyper focus element where you can just drop in, right, I've got this time to write or research or email, and they can just drop in and drop out as need be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would caveat is that, like today, I do find it really frustrating when it's all I'm thinking about and what I really, really want to do. I find it difficult to leave it, and it's like a.
It is, yeah.
But it is what it is, and I just, for me, I feel like I don't have to make excuses for the way my brain works. I've always felt like this. My husband is completely different. We met at university, so he would be revising for his exams. He would literally get up at 6 and work all day and go to bed at 11, and and I would quite often be in his room staring at the ceiling or twiddling with a pencil or just faffing about stealing his biscuits or going in and out. I could never do that. I could never have that kind of focus on revision like he has been able to do, and he's been like that through his whole work life, and I very rarely have it unless I get these manic times where I just can't leave something alone. But it's unlikely to be scholarly work. But we got the same degree. I did fine in my degree. I did what worked for me. I wasn't lazier. My brain just works in very intense little bursts of activity, and I just can't. It is like a physical thing. So I think we learn to manage our brains, and it would be great, like Matt was kind of saying a similar thing, if we could learn to do that when we're much younger and learn to accept that not everybody's brains work in the same way, and we're not all able to do that. It's like school is hell for some kids. Like my son really struggled, and yet he's a really smart boy. He's a really smart boy. He did really well in his degree because he found an engineering degree that really suited his talents. The school, apart from hanging out with his mates, was a bit of torture for him, doesn't it? We're all different, aren't we? Yeah. In so many ways, in so many arenas.
Yeah, lots of. I think schools now. Well, my friend, they've got kids in school, and they're a bit more sort of aware. Like her son, who is 4, they've already pulled her aside to say, look, he has certain behaviors and stuff like that. We would like to sort of kind of have him tested for ADHD and things like that. And she's like, well, his father has it and stuff, and and they picked up with this without her saying anything. So they've obviously, some schools are obviously very aware of these things now.
Yeah.
Where in my day it was literally just don't be an idiot and sort of get on with it and stuff.
Yeah.
You're banned from the library.
You're banned from the library. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, school is. I've like I say, I've got a 14-year-old, and she does really well at school, and I think you just got to find your own group of friends. And get your own, and they will kind of like, and the school kind of, you got your friends, you get your, and you know, they to obey the rules. They will help you. They will help you. They kind of become much more supportive now than they were back in my day, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think, I spent a lot of time doing school events. I write for teenagers, so I love being back in school. And one thing it's shown me is that the difficulty is with kids like me, I'm quite smart. So even though I did really badly in my GCSEs because I did literally no work, I was able to pull that round when I left that school, started again and did A-levels. I was able to sort that out. That shock probably was the best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest. But the kids who were in that school who maybe weren't that smart and who just wanted to work, but they've got an idiot like me who is just constantly messing around. And I was awful. I was a horrible, noisy, rude kid. It's no good for those other kids. And I feel so guilty because I look at some of the quieter kids I meet in schools now. And I just think, if I'd have been in school with you, I would have ruined school for you. Not because I was being mean to them, just because I was like, oh, look at me climbing out the window. Yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
But you're right. Good friends make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, school was pretty much a nightmare for me because I didn't have that support mechanism there. But yeah, thankfully my eldest two are in the same school together, and not only they've got each other, they've got their own circle of friends. So it just kind of grounds them a bit and kind of gives them that kind of safety net, so to speak.
That's good. Good. My sister wouldn't speak to me at school. I had to walk behind her.
Oh, wow.
Don't listen to this. I've just realised my mum and dad never knew about the library.
Really?
They won't listen every time.
Or will they?
Oh, baby.
Oh,
I was laughing.
They are lovely.
It's my baby dog. Baby dog. A little puppy.
Oh, they are lovely. That's lovely. So, you mentioned you go into schools. What do you do with schools?
So I do a mixture of things. I do talks on the themes in my books. So Beauty Sleep is, well, the theme I talk about in schools is how social media affects our perception of what we consider to be beautiful and the impact that has on us. It's about a girl who is put into cryostasis in 1986, and she's revived a little bit in the future. So she's like a real life Sleeping Beauty, and she's famous when she's revived. She's the first person to have gone through cryostasis and be successfully brought back to life. But she has to suddenly deal with a world that is full of social media, and not only that, her image is stolen and used to sell clothes because she's a famous person. So that's one of the themes in the book, is looking at how those kinds of things affect our perception of ourselves. And so I do a whole talk about body image for assemblies, and it's really funny. It goes through the years about how women's bodies are meant to be fat and thin and fat and thin and fat and thin, through Twiggy and then Marilyn Monroe and right back through history. So that's quite a popular assembly talk I do. And I do talks about my writing career because, I'm resilient, not giving up, because I think I told you, Pete, it took me 15 years to get my first deal. Seriously trying. So I do a talk about that. Obviously talk about books. This is my geekdom is books. And to be honest, they've been my saviour all my life. Even when I was being awful at school, I would never have wanted anyone at school to know that I would spend every free minute I had in the public library. You'd have never have seen any of my friends in the public library, but I would have been there and just devouring everything. That's where my love of science fiction came from. Is chomping my way through the classics. I didn't know that's what they were. I was just reading these amazing stories about alien invasions and plants that came to life and tried to take over the world, and midwich cuckoos. I remember reading this book and thinking, my God, this is like a fairy story and a horror story, and just the power in those stories. Well, you can tell how animated I am when I'm talking about books. And so I talk about books, and I share that with the kids, and why I think it's important to read, because there are some very important reasons to do with empathy, but also with our learning ability. But I also then do workshops. I do creative writing workshops with smaller groups in schools, and I actually spend quite a lot of time in primary schools doing workshops.
Oh, nice.
I don't write for primary kids, but I'm like, because I tell them you can't read my books, they're too scary for you. You have to wait until you're older. They all want to read my books. So I'm like, yeah, well, just don't forget when you're older, here's my name, get yourself down to that library.
Yeah, I agree completely, especially about the library. So I mean, every weekend, I'd be going down to the library once a week and getting some books out, because I mean, I was incredibly ill in my teenage years, and a book was my escape, like, and just kind of got me out of my head for a bit. And to the point where even though I hadn't been to the library for 25 years, the librarians who were like, no, junior librarians still remember me and asked my mum about me. 25 years on.
Do you know, honestly, big up the librarians.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try and sneak a librarian into my book. There's a tiny scene in Beauty Sleep that pretty much only exists so I can get a librarian doing something nice. Well, Sherman was a homeless kid in the story. He doesn't really need to go to the library, but I'm like, I honestly think I owe libraries my life, at least twice in my life. When I was growing up as a kid, I was not a happy kid. So I had good friends, but I was not a very happy kid, right from very small. My mum died when I was very little. My dad remarried, and life was a bit difficult. And the one thing my stepmom, well, she did a lot actually. My stepmom, I don't think I appreciated it at the time. She made sure we had a library bus that came around. We always went to the library bus. We always went and borrowed books. So there was always access to reading material, even though she actually hated books. She hated having them around the house. But I grew up with that feeling that books were available, and to find out that I could go on my own and borrow 8 books for 3 weeks. You would remember this, Pete. Oh, all these books for me? For me? It was just, honestly, just a sanctuary. So when I was growing up, definitely it was a place where I could rest my head, and a place where the focus would be. I could pour myself into another world and just be totally absorbed in it. And then when my kids were little, and I love my children, but babies are quite boring. I mean, I know that's not a very fashionable thing to say. It's not, is it? It's supposed to be just like, it's all rosy and lovely. Well, it is a lot of the time, but a lot of the time, it's also very tedious. And so I'd go to the library with the kids, and we'd go to story time and get books out together, and they could play around in the little kids section, choose their books while I was getting my books. Honestly, lifesaver.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you try and axe the libraries, I'm out there. You touch them libraries.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, because I mean, library is more than just a place where you get books. It's like done properly. It's an entire community hub. I mean, like there's reading groups there. There's community groups. It's like internet access for people that don't have it. Computer access. I mean, my mother-in-law goes to a library to get books and also to use the computers there because they've got internet access.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, it's just I'm agree completely. I really, really, really against any attempts at accessing libraries because they're more than just books.
Right, do you want to hear my theory about this?
Go on.
I'm going to get political now.
Please do.
I think there are certain governments who want to get rid of our libraries because the library is the poor man's access to knowledge.
Yeah.
That is the place where you can educate yourself. I know we have the internet now and people say that, but the internet is a very cluttered place. A good librarian in a library can direct you to exactly what you need. They will know the stock, they will know what you need. I think it is the most leveling thing a society can have. If you want to level up, you make sure there's bloody good libraries in every single town across the country that people can get to. There you go. I'm standing for that in my next political campaign.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I love the internet. I love all the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge you can get. The problem is your average Joe will take what he or she is spoon fed by the sort of the ruling classes, as it were. They will literally just accept what it is. Whereas if you're going to a library, you're voluntarily going somewhere to find something to read and research it. So you've got a mindset there. Whereas if you're just on your Facebook stream and going, the Daily Mail's told me that foreigners are bad, and
it's an echo chamber effect, especially like on social media, and also you tend to subconsciously lean towards information that kind of resonates with you, that aligns with your kind of outlook. So rather than having your outlook challenged, it just confirms it, and therefore encourages it, which can be unhealthy on both sides of the spectrum. I will add this.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I think it's also diminishing our ability to have good debate. People can have different opinions and still be able to discuss those opinions rationally, and you may move a little bit either way if you're able to do that. What happens now is you just get two sides fronting up against each other, and the divisions are getting wider, and it's very worrying.
I try to make a point on my Facebook, and it's something I'm very aware of now, is this echo chamber thing. So I have people on my Facebook who I fundamentally disagree with on a lot of things, but they're there for the simple reason that I need to see what they're saying and stuff like that. So I have a different view on it. Like, I've got fundamentalist Christians. I've got, there's a flat earther in there. There's people who like completely go against my sort of kind of liberal atheist fundamental things, and they're like I've got really strong Christian types who are always firing stuff on there, and I do it because I like seeing the other side of the coin, and I like to sort of have that bit of a debate every now and again when it pops up. I've got like things like there's a paper back home called the Belfast Telegraph, and it's effectively like the Daily Mail but sort of for Belfast, and it's just like lobs and grenades, so the Catholics and the Protestants, the Loyalists and the Nationalists can have a go at each other, and it's so toxic, but I have it there because it lets me see what both sides are saying, and then I can sort of have a more worldly view on things. So I have these things, like I completely disagree with, and it annoys me when people write these things, but I have to have it there because it's like, it makes me sort of kind of have that sort of more rounded view on the world.
I agree. I actually think you can't, it's a mistake to not try and understand, and this is why empathy matters. I don't know what your opinion is of Brexit, but I was quite open-minded when they first started talking about Brexit. I was like, okay, well, let's, being farmers, I see the downside of having very close relationships with the EU. We were quite often stuffed over for imports coming in from Europe, and I didn't really hold with the subsidy system the way it worked. It kind of pushed you into doing things that you might not necessarily have otherwise done, whereas there might be more sustainable things that you wouldn't get funding for, but you have to pay in, so you want to get your money out. So I was in two minds, and I came down the side that I wanted to stay. I looked at the whole debate and thought, I want to stay. And then as it polarized, and people were kind of saying, oh, Brexiteers, they're just stupid, they're not hearing the debate, they're being conned. What that does is it means there's no debate. The debate stops. One goes one way, one goes the other way, and neither side has a chance of persuading the other. And I think it's a huge.
Well, that's how Trump got in, isn't it? Because you had a left wing that was effectively mocking sort of moderate right-wing people, and they just sort of, instead of having this sort of like, I'm gonna discuss this with people and learn more, I'm just gonna shut up because all we're getting told is we're fascists and we're racists and we're this, and so they just kept quiet and they just voted. And that's what the same thing would happen with Brexit. And I was very, because it had obviously implications with Northern Ireland and stuff, I was very pro-Remain, very pro-Remain and stuff. And I have to say, like, I was very vocal about it and stuff, but like afterwards thinking about it, it's just like, as much, instead of just shouting at people that they should be voting, I should have maybe been a bit more sort of engaging with it and stuff, and sort of kind of, okay, I understand this.
It's thinking, well, why do these people want to leave? What is it that's making them really think that this is a good idea? Because they were being told it was a lot about migration. We knew as farmers, this country, there are no people who want to pick fruit. They don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to try with this new project, and it'll be interesting to see. We're going to really try and engage with the local community, work with the way things used to work. You know, life has changed. You could no longer have kids running around in fields while you're trying to pick fruit. That is not allowed anymore. So you've got to try and work with, if you want mums and dads who are, you know, home while the kids are at school to come in work, you've got to try and work around their hours. So we're going to really try and do it, and it'll be interesting to see how that works. But why do people feel, I mean, very legitimate reasons, they thought wages would go up, and they have. You know, I mean, that's true. That's why Jeremy Corbyn wanted it out of Europe, right? Wages have gone up. The flip side of that is everything else is going up as well. And maybe if we hadn't had the Ukraine war, it wouldn't have. I don't know. I just think
the thing that sort of gets me most about it is that I hated the idea of it, and I understand people going, well, all these other things have happened, but conversely, if you were making such a big change in society, you would have had contingency plans for other things going wrong, but they haven't had any of those plans, and it's got to the point, and this really annoyed me. It had, what's his name? He was the leader of not Brexit Party, UKIP after Farage. He was on the radio, and he was basically going, they asked him, so is Brexit working out? And he went, no. And he's just like, so what's the point of it then? And he was just like, well, they didn't have a plan and did this. I said, yeah, but you were the one who were pushing for something to happen, telling people about all this stuff, and then it didn't happen, and you knew there was no plan, so why did you push forward with it? And that's the one thing that frustrates me, is because as much as on its own, I personally think we are poor because of it, but it could have, I would have wanted it to work because I don't want the country to go down the tube, but because there was all this other stuff that happened afterwards, and there was no contingency for basically shit happening, it just literally just went from being bad to being an absolute shit show. And now we're just
you're right.
Yeah, it's just like, but there's nobody thought about it. It was just like, this is something that we've done emotionally, this is what we want emotionally. I was like, but you're not thinking about it straight. And because people like me were just going, you're being racist and stuff, and I had people who were just going, I want out because there's a load of Muslims in my street and stuff. I was like, yeah, but that's not all about it. It's just sort of,
Brexit isn't going to do anything about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, fundamentally for me, it did come down to an emotional decision, really. I wanted to stay. I didn't want a world that was creating more division.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's enough division.
Yeah.
And I will be heartbroken if Scotland goes, and if Ireland goes, and I think that might happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. That's a very upsetting thing. The irony of it all is all the big loyalist types in Northern Ireland who are literally so pro Brexit. They've literally shot themselves in the foot, and they've caused a situation where unity in Ireland is becoming a lot more sort of kind of feasible, and a lot more people pushing for it. And it's because of loyalists and people who have done this. In Scotland, they're banging their drum from and stuff, and
Yeah.
because they're
And
going to
you
break
can't
up
blame them.
and you're going to break up a union, and it's the one thing that you wanted to keep together, and you've created the situation, the perfect storm for this thing to fall apart. And it's just like, why did you do that? And there was no forethought. There was no sort of like, oh yeah, this might happen. It was just like, we don't want this because we're this. And then that frustrates the hell out of me, because it's just like, I'm a globalist, so I believe in human beings should be together. We should all be, there's all about well-being, sort of like, what's the word? Having your own cultural things and stuff like that. But as human beings, we should all work together, be better, evolve as better human beings and stuff. And having all these little subsects and little sort of cliques and tribalism and stuff, it's like, it shouldn't be. We should be a part of something bigger and better and working to progress human race and stuff. And it just...
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, like, we've almost kind of learned... not learn, become less inclined to reach compromise. Compromise has been seen as a weakness, as a failure, rather than...
When it's completely the opposite. It's a total strength. That's what binds people together. I've been married 34 years. I know what compromise is.
Do you know what compromise is, or does your husband know what compromise is?
Well, we kind of come to this agreement that I compromise in his favour, if the compromise is necessary, when it's to do with the business. Because really, he is the one who gets some of the crack of the door and does all the dirty jobs, and he compromises in my direction when it's to do with the family and like home stuff.
You respect each other's strengths, then.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with, there's one thing that sort of always, pride comes a lot into this, especially in politics and stuff. People refuse to accept that they're wrong, because if they're proven wrong...
Well, that's more to do with ideological purity.
Yeah.
When they want to be seen as, as the most left, the most right, the most whatever. And any kind of opposing views that doesn't align with their ideology is therefore wrong, regardless of whether it's factually correct. If it's ideologically incorrect, then they will not, will accept it. But again, we're coming back to the whole aspect of echo chamber and aligning with beliefs rather than facts.
Yeah. Well,
this is
I'm
what...
going to throw something else in. This has gone a very strange direction, this conversation, but I'm just going to throw something else in here.
We got you in to talk about books, and we're talking politics.
Where the ideas from my books come from. I should be taking notes. I think the thing, it is also to do with the patriarchy. Please don't groan, hear me out. But, being seen as strong, not backing down, that's strength, right? Because we don't see strength in compromise, whereas I see strength, a lot of strength in compromise, because it knits things together. Being strong and going in your direction, just like Bart Simpson, I'm going to skateboard naked down the high street, no one's going to stop me. That's seen as a strength of character, and we want that. We want strong leaders. That's about masculine, so-called masculine traits. That's the patriarchy in action there, and it's bad for us. Bad for us. So smash the patriarchy. We're going to fix it all.
Absolutely no. I mean, because typically feminine characteristics of bridge building, compromising, negotiating, and almost being the soft leadership skills are seen as weak, stereotypically.
They are. Yeah, I think we need a non-binary world. We've had a bit of this discussion before.
Yeah, we have.
We need a non-binary world where those things are not seen as male or female or weak or strong. That each has their own value. I mean, granted, sometimes you need to be strong if you're building a house, for example. But not necessarily when you're running a country. You don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's negotiating using strength is an oxymoron. You need to negotiate softly to find out what the other wants. What are they willing to offer? What will they accept? Yeah. And what are you willing to offer? And find that bridge in between. Find what is acceptable to both of you. And you.
Do you remember the story of the sun and the wind? Have you ever heard?
No, I've not heard this.
It's a really old story. So the sun and the wind had a competition to see who could make somebody. There was a man walking down the road, and they wanted to see who was stronger. So they wanted to make the man take his coat off. And the wind said, well, I'll be able to do it. I'm going to blow his coat off because I'm so strong. I'm going to blow his coat off and it will be. But the more the wind blew, the more the man pulled the coat around him and just held onto the coat and would not remove the coat. So this came for the sun to have her turn. And she just beamed down on the man until he slowly was getting warmer and warmer. And of course, what he did was slide the coat off his shoulder. So the sun won by being gentle and spreading her warmth, whereas the wind did not win because the man just doubled down and refused to take off his coat. And that is the fable.
That's right. You push too far, and you push too far, then people just sort of entrench themselves.
They push back.
Exactly.
Yeah, they push back, they entrench themselves.
Exactly.
I'm just very I'm very aware of. I know when I'm quite a competitive person. My family's quite competitive. Me and my brother play board games all the time. We're very competitive. We don't like losing, but I've more recently in the last sort of 10 years or so have sort of tried to, if I'm wrong about something, owning it and sort of going, you know what, I am wrong. And instead of having that, because you get that pang of pride comes up, oh, you can't be wrong because that makes you look like an idiot. But you kind of go, do you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going to learn from this.
I'm going to own that.
Yeah,
there's a secret, Matt, out there. There's a secret you need to learn. We're all idiots. Trust me. We're all idiots. We can all be wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not an idiot.
Apart from my wife. My wife is
I've got it. But little geek, let's have a little geek step back here, right? Because you did mention games and it is coming up to Christmas. And we discovered family game time is the best thing about Christmas. All my family selfishly have gone away and there is now no one for me to play board games with. So when I have them back,
right, okay, sci-fi weekender, we'll have a game session.
Did that happen?
No, but we could have one.
It should definitely happen.
Yeah.
And the game I'm putting into the ring for this, because it deals with Matt's thing about, well, you can play it in a really aggressive I must win way, but also you can play it in a quite collaborative way, is Carcassonne. Have you ever played Carcassonne?
Yeah.
Oh, Carcassonne, all right. Yeah. I've not played it actually. I'm if it doesn't have little sort of army men that I can paint, then generally...
You can have army men. You can have army. Well, they're made of cardboard.
Yeah.
I've seen it. An army.
I've seen it.
There are so many add-ons.
Yeah.
You can add farms. We obviously have the edition where you can add on the farms and castles, and inns and taverns. It's just amazing.
Yeah. If there's a game we always play at Christmas at my house, and it's called Articulate, and it's a very sort of it's literally you've got a card, there's a sort of line depending on what type of thing, and you've got to describe without saying the word, and somebody has to describe, and we play that every year and have done for the last 15 years or something. I have never lost a game. I am currently the champion at this moment in time. Ironic because I'm dyslexic.
Matt, he needs a crown that says most competitive.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we have a trophy. We have a trophy in the house, and it goes, and we have it we have it we play it in the pub with it got to the point where it was just the family, and we bring it on holiday with us, and we play it with the family, and then we play it at Christmas every year, and then it got to the point where it was such a big thing that we started bringing it to the pub with us in Ballycarry and back in the village where I am, and the people all there were playing, so you'd have 20 people in groups of 4 or 5 sort of playing this game and stuff. I still haven't lost. Still winners. But it's an amazing game, and it's just literally just a word game. But there's another one which we brought up most recently, and it's called The Resistance, and it's a card-based game. It's kind of like I'm
definitely taking notes.
The Resistance is Resistance. So basically, it's like a card game. So basically, I'm into sort of miniature games and war games and stuff like this. But this game is so good. It takes about 5 minutes to play, but you can play different rounds, and you each get a card with a person on it, and they're either going to be a government working for the government, this sort of fascist government, or they're going to be a resistance fighter. But you can't tell anybody that you're a part of the resistance. And what you have to do is you get this card, everybody looks at it, and then they put it down, and then what you have to do is you take turns choosing who's going to go on a mission with you. Each person takes a turn to choose who's going to go on a mission with them, and there's a certain amount of people, and then you go, right, I'm bringing you, Karen, and I'm bringing Catherine, sorry, and I'm bringing you, Pete, and we're going to go on this mission, and everybody else has to go, whoa. Well, Pete was being a bit odd recently, and I'm not sure if you should bring him, because if
that's normal for me.
Yeah, he's going to fail this mission. And basically, it's up for the what's it called? The rebels have to fail 3 missions, whereas the government ones have to pass 3 missions and stuff. So what you can do is you can sort of like pass one. If you're a rebel, you can pass one just to sort of put you out of suspicion, and then fail, kind of go, well, I was on that last mission and it passed and stuff, and then you get yourself on to the next mission, and then you sort of fail it, and then you go, well, I was in the last one and I passed, whereas he wasn't on that last mission, therefore he must be the spy. And then there's like this back and forth, and it gets really, really intense sometimes.
I'm definitely getting that game. It's so good, because that sounds like it's quite a small one.
Oh, it's really small. It's like it's a small box. It takes like, each game takes 5-10 minutes, and it has no knock-on effect to the next game. It all resets.
Although friendships will suffer.
Oh yeah, big time. My friend and his missus, he turned around to her and he went, if you're lying to me, we're over. He was just like, we're over, because he was getting really like annoyed, and she's not. And it's the same with my brother. My brother was just like, I'm not lying to you, man, I'm definitely telling the truth. And because I'm a trusting chap, I believed him, and it turned out he was a spy, little shit. And I was just like, no. So
I'd never trust any of them.
Yeah, so it's a great game, and like it's completely against all the sort of games I like. But it's amazing, and it's really good, especially if you got like 6 to 8 people as well. It makes, if there's too many, if you get 10 people, it gets a bit too much. But sort of like 5, 6 people, 8 people max, it's really good, especially if you had a few drinks and people just arguing with each other. It's so good. Yeah, it's really good.
We've got a family favourite. It's called Pit, and it's a really, really old game. I mean, I think it's definitely 19th century. I mean, the version we've got is from the 1930s. It was my husband's auntie's. Yeah. I mean, you can still get it. That's how good this game is. It's just a card game. It's a trading game. It's basically you're trading stocks and shares, but you're moving cards around, and the idea is to be the one who has collected the most points. But
what's it called? Pit?
A bull and a bear card. Pit. Yeah, it's very noisy, which really suits my family, and it's really fun. But the person who is really good at it in our family is the Marxist. That's ultimate capitalist game. Person who excels is the one who is studying Marxism. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay, there's different versions of it and stuff. Yeah, okay, cool. Right.
Are you having a little Google?
Yeah, just Google it now. Yeah.
I mean, one game I found that worked really well, especially when we were in lockdown, was D&D. Like, I ran sessions of D&D for my family, so for my wife and children, and they had an absolute blast. I mean, we couldn't go out anywhere.
My daughter did. She'd never played it before, and was playing it, and she loved it. She really loved it. But it's storytelling as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's very collaborative, which is what another thing you were mentioning as well. And yeah, I mean, actually, I'm just finishing the final edits on a peer-reviewed essay that's being published next month. All being well for this academic journal.
Congratulations!
Oh, very nice, very nice.
It's terrifying. I've had like 3 pages just on references. And because like it's a peer review, so they will kind of question you. Where's that? What's this from? Can you back that up? And
it will be like when you write a novel and you base it in a real place, and they're like, well, you can't go down that street and get that bus at that time. Actually, thank you
very much. You'll find that the 224 doesn't come at 3 o'clock.
Actually, but I will still say the editors are fantastic. I'm in the process of writing the story. It has been in the process for several years now, but I just get distracted by journalism. And I was writing this scene in London where the driver could see the Houses of Parliament on one side and the London Eye on the other. And I thought, well, there's quite a bit in London. I'll give it to C.C. Adams, who also lives in London, is a prolific horror writer. I said, oh, have a read of that, see what you think. Just reading through it. And he goes, yeah, Pete, the only way you'd see that is if you were driving down the middle of the Thames.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said that, I was just like, huh?
Yeah. And it's like, yes, you're absolutely right. And it can't be on a boat. So I'm going to rewrite that on time.
That is useful to know. That will save you years of pain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously you are a published author. Have you had people coming up to you going, well, I think actually you'll find this about your books?
Do you know what the worst thing? And it's quite sad, really. I mean, no spoilers, but at the end of More of Me, oh no, it is going to be a massive spoiler, actually. At the end of More of Me, I have to say it. So
Spoilers.
Something terrible happens to the central character, and I very often get people saying to me, "Why did you do that? What? Why?" And there was a very good reason why it had to happen. It's a book about growing up and moving forward with your life, and this is a book about cloning. So she has to be able to walk away from the previous version of herself. Bad thing has to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I see sad, upset faces, and I'm just like, I'm really sorry about that, but also I'm really not sorry, and I'm quite glad you cried, because that means I did my job.
You got an emotional response from the reader.
Yeah, I know, and writers are quite cruel like that. When you set out on that path, that is what you want. But there was a good reason for it. I didn't write it for no reason. It wasn't gratuitous.
Do you ever ever kind of respond to going, "Oh, good"?
Yeah. Well, I do have a little wicked glint when they say, "Oh, that really made me quite did it." Oh, sorry.
So you're not too precious about your main characters and stuff. You will sort of do bad things to them. Then you're not, Oh,
come on, that's the funnest bit, isn't it?
See, I've always found like when
say more about me.
When I do creative writing, I'm always very protective of my guy. It's like, I've just built this guy up. I don't want to kill him off.
Well, it's like Stephen King once said, "Kill your darlings."
Yeah. Well, it's like.
Have you read Stephen King's book on writing?
Yeah. Oh, I've got it literally just there. I've read it a few times.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's the best book on writing I've ever read. It's really good.
Another good one is J. Michael Straczynski's Becoming a Writer and Staying a Writer.
I haven't read that. No. Maybe I should.
It's really, 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 really good. It gives you all the kind of explains how he became a writer and how he just kind of kept being a writer. I mean, he created Babylon 5 and Sense8 and Spider. Well, he didn't create it, but he wrote Spider-Man. But it explained how he did it all, and it's incredibly good. I do recommend it.
I'll read that. I will sure read that.
I'll rank it alongside Stephen King on writing anytime. Definitely, yeah, really, really recommend it.
I've got so many books in my backlog. I've got to the point where I just do audiobooks now, just so I can do other things and have them on in the background and stuff. So currently listening to V. Castro's Vasquez.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently listening to that at the minute and stuff while I do things. But I've got like a backlog of books to sort of go through at the minute.
How do you find audiobooks, Kathryn?
I do listen to audio books. I think they're fantastic. I mean, I do a lot of driving, so I'm quite often in the car. In fact, when I came up to Sci-Fi Weekender, it was a really long trip for me. It was like 7 hours.
Where did you drive from?
So from home, I'm right down on the south coast.
Oh,
so to get up.
Really, 7 hours from whereabouts? Because it takes 5 hours for me from Manchester to get to Norwich and stuff.
Oh, it was 7 hours because I'm not commenting on the political action because I believe in the political action, but it is quite annoying when people are closing the M25.
Right. Yeah, okay.
So it was quite a long time in the car, and I was listening to Bryony Pierce's book. Was it? No, the other one. What's it called? One of her adult thrillers, crime books. And because I've never read any of her crime, I've read a lot of her sci-fi.
Yeah,
probably most of it. But I'd never read, and we were doing this panel thing together, and I wanted to read one of her crime books. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I didn't want to get out of the car. I ended up driving around Great Yarmouth.
Little Rumours, was it?
No, it was the other one. It wasn't Little Rumours.
The Girl on the Platform.
Yes, The Girl on the Platform. Fantastic, really good. So, I've been doing quite a lot of research for my. I'm writing a younger novel, a time travel novel.
Ooh.
And I'm listening to Stephen Fry. I've just listened to Stephen Fry's Roaring Twenties, and I'm going to listen to his Edwardian book on Edwardian secrets as well, because it's a kind of quirky take on the history, and it just appeals to me. And I listen to them while I'm walking the dog. So it's time.
Yeah.
that I can get other extra stuff done. Yeah, love them. And I actually think if you're not a reader, the action of reading is difficult for you for whatever reason. Audiobooks are almost as good. I mean, if I'm remembering a book, I read a lot physically. I can never remember whether I've read a book or listened to it. You know, if it's read well, it makes no difference. I don't tell anyone this. Probably shouldn't say this. I don't like the audio version of More of Me. I don't like it.
Oh.
It's got an American
the
actress, and she's brilliant. She's lovely. But Tiva is Northern, and in my head, this character sounded Northern.
There's a lot of sort of like audiobooks which Gareth Powell was we had Gareth Powell.
Gareth Powell.
Yeah. And like his books sound amazing. But I went straight, like after our podcast, I went out and I'm going to get these and stuff, and I'm going to give them this, and I couldn't listen to them because the audio, the actress they had for it was just so robotic and so sort of like, I was just like, this is killing it. It's making me feel like the book's bad, and I know it's probably not. So I was just like, I'm not gonna listen to this because I'll buy the book and I'll read it because whatever they've done with the audio, it's not clicking, it's not working for me and stuff. And it's
it wasn't the actress. I just want to say it was not the actress. She's lovely and she did a great job, but she was reading the American version of my book.
Yeah.
And she's American, you know, so and they had Americanized it.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Jonathan Keeble for audiobooks and stuff. So basically he does a lot of the sort of Horus Heresy books and stuff, and oh my god, he's so good. Because he does different accents, and he does sort of different. He does everything. He does female voices, he does male voices, he does everything, and he's just like the ultimate audio person is Jonathan Keeble. He's so good.
Because you need a narrator, that is able to narrate the story properly rather than, and also just a point like how you envision the character. Is different. Like, and that is like a hard trick for a narrator to kind of evoke, because I mean
and there are some books, I think, if you're listening to a book like that you really loved growing up as a kid, I always think the special thing about books is that you write them, a writer writes them, and if you're lucky to get to work with an editor, so there's already a kind of a team thing going on in the production of a book, but it doesn't really live until it's in the hands of a reader. And they put their own thought and impressions into that book and make it something that I will never know. It will live in their head in a very different way to the way it lived in my head, which is kind of a really amazing, fascinating thing. But when you then listen to an audiobook, and it happened to me with Terry Pratchett, some of the stories I love, they're different readers or they're acted. Funnily enough, if they're acted, if they're done like plays, if they're dramatized, I prefer it. If it's being narrated, it just sounds wrong because it's not the voice that I read those books in my head. You know, the Terry Pratchett that I loved and grew up with. It just feels different.
Yeah, it's like I've read all the I was a massive Sharp fan, and I've read all the Bernard Cornwell Sharp novels, and I got the most recent one, which is Sharp Assassin, and I was like, I don't have time to read this, and I bought the book because I was like, I'm gonna read this, but it's just sat in my bedside table for years and ages, and I never read it, so it's like, I'm gonna get this an audiobook. So I got an audiobook, and it was just like the first thing that hit me was the guy doing the accent for Sharp and the guy doing the accent for
your immediate response was, that's not Sean Bean.
Yeah, and then Harper and stuff, and I was just like, but even that, not Sean Bean, but like in my head from the books before like the Sharp series came out and stuff, I was just like, that's not what I've got in my head, and it was sort of putting me off slightly because I was just like, that's not how I feel like they should sound. But I got over it eventually because it was just like, I was sort of kind of, at least it wasn't bad narration, it was just my head. I was just like, this is what they should sound like. Realistically,
they should have just brought Sean Bean in just to narrate it. Some general principles.
Sure. But yeah,
he was busy. He was making Yorkshire tea adverts.
Oh yeah, for Yorkshire.
Yeah, the only tea that matters.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts because I find podcasts require different parts of my brain to audiobooks, and I have no idea why. I both listen to them the same way, but I
You
think
can zone in and out of a podcast because there's a lot of just normal chit chat going on, but there's bits of information, because I do the same with podcasts. I can have them going on around the house when I'm doing other things, and I'll zone into the bits I'm interested in and then sort of knock out when I'm doing stuff. Like, it's there, but it's not going in when I'm doing other things. So you can kind of take them as you please, kind of like our podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So you can have these in the background when you're doing your
But really, you should be
work.
listening to us religiously and asking questions.
Yes, exactly. That's what you should be doing.
And buying up.
Yeah, buying books. Yes.
Yeah.
So what have you got? Like, obviously, we've gone around the houses here. We've talked about everything, bar sort of kind of what you're writing at the minute. So
It's been like afternoon tea, isn't it? It's been like just having a little chat with your friends.
Yeah. Sorry. What are you writing at the minute?
What weirdly, so the book I wrote in lockdown, which is kind of is a bit sci-fi, but it's not a bit. Basically, the idea behind the book is that there's this created world where the gender privilege is flipped, and it just didn't work, and it was just an angry, ranty mess, and my publisher turned it down. Quite rightly. I was very depressed when I wrote it in lockdown, and it was just my agent said it feels like it's 3 novels, like you're trying to deal with too many issues that made you very angry. It's just not working. So I put it aside and I wrote the first draft of a time travel novel, which I've absolutely loved doing for younger kids. So I'm revising that in a minute with a view to sending that to my agent when I've done this round of edits. But I discovered something really amazing, and that's verse novels, free verse, novels in free verse. I was sent one by a friend of mine, Terry, who you may know because she writes a lot of sci-fi. She wrote one of my favorite sci-fi books of all time, Mind Games. I think it might be my favorite of her books, even though it wasn't the one that made the big splash. That was the Slated series did really, really well. But Mind Games just blew me away. I absolutely loved it. And she said she read this book and she said, she had an ARC, like an advanced reader copy, so she could blurb the book, which was sometimes given the privilege to do. And she sent me this book. She said, I've got to talk to someone about it, so you're going to have to read it. So she sent me this book, and I literally read it in 2 hours, and it blew my mind, the power of this book. And then I found out that the writer, Louisa Reed, the book is called The Activist, and it's out now, with my blurb in it, as well as Terry's, because I was just like, I loved it so much. It just came from the gut. I had to say something about it. She was doing a workshop at a conference I was at a couple of weekends ago, the SCBWI conference, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. I did her workshop on writing in free verse, and it was like my heart had been opened up. I can't even explain it. It was like a door opened inside me and light just shone in, and I'm rewriting this novel in verse.
So
and
what is writing in verse? What is it?
It's kind of hard to explain it because it's poetry, but it's not. It's more like lyrics.
Okay.
So it's thinking it. And I'm not of the generation of social media, but because of my nature and because I've always loved new technology and connecting with new ways to communicate, I've really embraced social media as I know it has its downside, but all the positive sides of social media. And I think people who connect in a way with TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and those soundbite little stories, what they're looking for is something lyrical, musical in a way. And I think that's what these books do. They serve up story in not in sound bites, but it is verse, but in easily digestible lyric form. It's like reading a song sheet, but it's telling you a story. It's like reading the words to an album that makes a cohesive story. It's my latest passion. You might be able to tell from my enthusiasm for it. It may never get published. People might read it and think you can't write a sci-fi novel in this.
It sounds a lot like the ancient storytelling,
or epic poems and things like
epic poem.
like
a little bit like that, but
like
it's
Beowulf or something.
less restrictive because a lot of the epic poems are written with very very restrictive stanza forms, and it's not that in free verse. It's free verse, so you can use whatever you want. You know, it's like you can mix a haiku up with a sonnet if you want to. You can whatever works, and what it does is it distills story. It forces you to focus what the heart of your story is, and for this particular book, it distills the anger into something that is more palatable, I think.
Interesting.
I hope. Well, we'll see. I mean, it may never get published. I might send it to my agent, which she might think I've gone completely insane. But well, she probably will.
Conceptually, it sounds really good.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I mean, it could, from the sound, it could easily be like published in the poetry section as well.
Well, the thing is, along with graphic novels, it's becoming a space where young people really tap into it. Young people who are reluctant readers and think that reading isn't for them, tapping into verse novels because you can read them in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Just like they're very digestible. And I mean, I've been reading a lot. I've just read a little book called Life on the Refrigerator Door, and it's a story about a girl whose mum dies of cancer, and it's just their messages to each other on the fridge door.
Oh, nice.
It sounds stupid. It sounds crazy. Like it just, how could you possibly write a novel like that? And it's so moving and beautiful and poetic and lyrical. It's like, honestly, it's like a Taylor Swift album in book form. I just think it's a wonderful new. It's not a new way, but it is a new way of looking at the form and of serving the form. And why should it not apply? You know, I love science fiction and I love the worlds that we can create through having that open-mindedness about what a book can be about. So why should I not try?
Absolutely.
Put my world
absolutely.
into a verse novel. We'll see.
Interesting. That sounds.
It's not as easy as I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just sort of trying to get my head around. But that being said, I used to listen to sort of programs on Radio 4 and stuff, and it was very lyrical. There were stories, but they were sort of kind of lyrical and stuff like that. So, and I always enjoyed those. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm trying to think of the name of the story. Actually, I was listening to Radio 4 that was on. That sounds similar. The Activist.
I don't want to get you in trouble with copyright. This is the book. This is the proof of the book that I was sent that started
nice.
The journey. I'm reading loads more, so this is one I haven't read yet. This is Manjeet Man, The Crossing. I mean, the other one I just read was Long Way Down, which is about a kid whose brother is shot, and he's been taught that he must get revenge for his brother's death, and he gets the elevator down to the ground floor of his tower block, and as he's going down each level with this gun in his trousers at the back, he meets all these ghosts of people who have been connected by this revenge theory. I mean, it's just honestly outstanding. Wow. And I think if you can handle a story like that within the verse novel, it's so moving. I really am a geek. I'm living up to your total geek pride. I'm having my moment. Right?
Good. So you should. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. I love.
I don't want to get you in trouble to read you a bit.
No.
Not mine. Will we get in trouble?
No. It'll be fine.
No.
I mean, I could almost choose any page of this book. Let me choose. How can I choose one page to try and convince that you really, really want to read a verse novel? I'll just read you this one. I don't know if this is going to be the best example because it's in the middle of the book. My mother wouldn't call herself a feminist. If you asked her, she'd say she believes in keeping the peace, to knuckling down and getting on with things. And yes, I agree that peace is great in theory, but looked at slant, it's just an excuse to turn the other cheek. And it's a book about fighting back. And almost every page, I wanted to capture it and go, this. And I think that's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's sort of each page is its own sort of encapsulating poem nearly on its own.
It is, but it all has to push the story forward. So it all has to do the same things that story will do. You still have to build character. You still have to build your setting, which is slightly difficult for me, you know, within what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I'm loving it, and it's invigorating.
Interesting.
It's really invigorating. I think.
That's intriguing, actually. Yeah, building characters within that. It's a really, because you have to do it in an engaging way, but also in a lyrical way. So okay, yeah.
And drive your story. You know, I write thrillers. I write stories that I want people to keep turning the page and what's going to happen. What's going? And this has got a massive humdinger of a twist at the end of it as well. How am I going to do? I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm loving the challenge. And this is literally the thing that is in my mind 24 hours a day. The thing I'm living, sleeping, breathing, eating, and finding it hard to step away from. In fact, it's in the background of my laptop right now. I'm talking to you, but I am thinking about my characters.
Oh yeah. Well, what I found, like, whenever you're working on like a novel or whatever, it's always in the back of your mind, just kind of lurking there. You're not actively thinking about it, but it's just kind of percolating away, and you'll find you kind of like momentary glimpses of like inspiration.
Yes, and you know, the weirdest thing is sometimes things happen like I'll have written something and I don't know why I've done it, and I'm just annoying, like, and I know it's going to happen. So this time travel novel I've written, I was reading through the edits and I found a dead body behind the toilet door. I'd forgotten I'd put it there. I don't know why this person died. Who even was this person? I don't know. But you know what I do know from experience is there will come a point when I go, that's why he died. Now all of that is happening in my head. Nobody is giving me that. I don't believe I'm being gifted with this knowledge, but it feels like that sometimes. It feels like the story always existed, and all you're doing is mining for it and just trying to find it and how those pieces lock together. I realise that makes me sound like a lunatic.
No, not at all. Not at all. Right. Well, okay. Well, I'm sure we could actually probably bang on for a very long time, but as it's getting late, we'll probably sort of get to the tail end. Now, we always finish our podcast with it's kind of like a pop quiz, but it's not sort of like, so we pick a franchise. We each pick a franchise, and then we give the others 60 seconds to guess that character within the franchise. So it could be...
Oh, I'm scared because I won't be any good at this. This is terrible, but it's also quite funny.
Yeah, so it's like, it has to, you know, obviously we're not going to do what Pete does and go for stupidly obscure comic book characters that nobody's ever heard of.
Once.
But you choose a character, and then you choose his franchise, you tell them what the franchise is, and then you've got 60 seconds to guess who the character is within that franchise. And we can go there. So if you have a think, I'm not sure, you into your sci-fi, not sort of, you know, so I'm not sure what sort of sci-fi.
Oh, no, I might surprise you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So, right. Well,
you didn't say what the franchise had to be.
Yeah, it could be whatever you want, as long as we've got a chance of guessing what it is. If neither of us, if neither of us know what that is, then it's going to be a very short game.
It will be a short piece. No, I have an idea. I have an idea. You might not like it, but it's my choice.
Okay, cool. Right, so I'll get my stopwatch out. Stopwatch. Pete, do you have one ready?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start with Pete because we can show you how it goes. Okay, so what Pete? What's your franchise?
Give me a second. I just need. It's The Expanse.
Oh, The Expanse. Interesting.
Yeah, I just need to quickly remind myself. Yeah, I know it now. Sorry. Yeah, go.
Right. Okay. Bear with me 1 minute. Let me get this stopwatch out. Okay. Right. So we have. Oh, where's it gone to? Oh, there it is. Okay. The Expanse. 60 seconds. Go. Okay. Are they from Mars?
No.
Are they a belter?
Yes.
Are they are they ever on the Rocinante?
Yes.
Are they what's their name? Is it a female? Is it a girl?
It is a girl.
Is it Drummer?
Yes, it is Drummer.
Yes.
You literally just had a conversation there that I don't know. I literally don't know what just happened.
If you like
But
sci-fi,
you do the other way around. Do yours next, Matt, because I'm just checking that I've got the right franchise. I'm
talking about that,
Yes,
if you've never seen The Expanse, Kathryn, you should see it. It's, as sci-fi goes, it is superb. I never rated it until I started watching it last year.
And after
they literally browbeat me into watching it. It's possibly the best sci-fi that's ever been on TV. So
and
good.
now
I will do because most of my sci-fi is in book form. It's not really watching stuff.
Well, it used to be a book. It was The Expanse used to be an RPG, and then it was a book, and then an RPG, and then they made it into a series. It's a 6-part series. It's on Amazon, and it's scientifically quite sound as well because it adds in a lot of the sort of kind of the actual
real world
physics
science
behind it and stuff. But it's so good, so good, so good. Okay, all right. What am I going to go for? I am going to go. What sort of things are you into? Are you into Lord of the Rings? Are you into? Because I'm trying to think whether I'm Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Star Trek or
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Okay, I'm going to do. Shall I do one for Star Trek then? Right. Let us do Star Trek then. So, right. It can't be too easy.
Yes, it can.
Oh, please make it really, really easy. I'm an old lady.
Okay.
I'm an old lady. You sprang this on me.
All right. It's an easy-ish one. Okay, it is an easy one. Okay, right. Star Trek, 60 seconds, go.
Are they in the original series?
No.
Are they in the Next Generation?
Yes.
Are they only in the Next Generation?
No.
Are
they female?
They are female.
Are they on Deep Space Nine as well?
Oh God, you're trying to think. I haven't seen all the episodes of Deep Space Nine, possibly, but I don't know.
Okay. Are they Federation?
They are Federation, yes.
Do they have very long, curly, gorgeous hair?
She doesn't have curly, gorgeous hair. No. You're thinking of Deanna, aren't you?
And that was a fantastic cosplay at Sci-Fi Weekender.
I know. I thought it was her. I literally wanted to kidnap her. So that's
nope.
But she looked amazing.
Okay, not Deanna Troy. Are they human?
They are human.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so 60 seconds is done. You can have one more question and one more guess, and then we're done. So, Kathryn, what's your question?
Is she famous in the series for being a particular mother?
She is a mother in the series.
And I can't remember her name.
Is it Dr. Beverly Crusher?
It is Dr. Beverly Crusher for the win. It is Dr. Beverly Crusher for the win. I wasn't sure if she was in Deep Space Nine because I've not seen it all, but she's obviously in the new Picard and stuff, so she's
Oh yeah.
And she's obviously in the films and things, so yeah, cool. All right, so that's it. So what have you got for us?
So my exception to the not watching things is Red Dwarf.
Ooh,
oh,
is that allowed?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Red Dwarf.
So it's Red Dwarf.
Okay, so Red Dwarf 60. This will be our first Red Dwarf one, actually. I think Red Dwarf 60 seconds. Go.
Are they human?
No.
Are they a hologram?
No.
Are they alive?
Yes.
Are they a mammalian cat?
No.
Are they a gelf?
Oh! Yes.
Right. Okay. A gelf. Right. Were they in Emo Hawk? Polymorph 2. Oh.
Oh, do you know, I can't remember the name of the episode.
Sorry.
The Gelfs, is the Gelfs the one where they sort of they feed on their emotions, is it?
Oh, did
Well, there are different Gelfs.
yeah. Did Lister have
It
to
is a
marry
Gelf,
one?
but it may not. It's a very specific Gelf.
Okay,
Did,
right. So
did
60
Lister have to
seconds.
marry one?
Is that the 60 seconds up?
60 seconds is up, so we got one more question
Okay.
each, and then we can make a guess.
Was Dave Lister betrothed to them?
Dave Lister was not betrothed to them.
Okay.
It wasn't Dave.
But wasn't them. Okay. Ooh.
It wasn't Dave. Can I tell you?
Yeah, go on then.
You want to guess? You get one last guess.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna. I'm completely. I don't know.
Pete is so nearly there.
Okay. Is it the?
One of the crew did have a relationship with this creature. It wasn't Dave.
Was it? Oh no. I'm gonna have to go.
It's the pleasure Gelf.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well done.
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
There you go. First red dwarf in it as well, which is odd because
Well,
we thought
I'm
we'd sort of have.
very proud to be holding up the red dwarf flag because that is a big family thing here. Red dwarf. We know practically every episode inside.
Dwayne Dibley.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It really has. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're
Thank you
more
for
than
joining us.
welcome to come back on whenever. When you finish your lyrical book, by all means, please come on and read us some from it. Even if you don't publish it.
Tell you if my agent thought I was crazy.
Well, even if she thinks you're crazy, bring it back on. You know,
Especially if she thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, especially if she
Okay,
thinks you're crazy. Bring it back on, and we can have a read through it. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Is there any places you want people to see? Any websites or anything like that?
Oh, no. I mean, I'd love people to read my books. Beauty, Sleep, More of Me are the two books that are out. If they're interested they can come find me on kathrynevans.inc, or I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
All the
Kathryn
things.
Evans, also or Kathryn Evans Inc. All of and probably many more when we thought Twitter was going to implode. Discord and Hive and
all the things.
oh, you name it. Too many really.
Are you TikTok famous?
Well, I had a few videos that have gone viral on TikTok. Yeah.
All right, cool. My dog's TikTok famous. He's got 146,000.
Oh really?
140,
I might follow him.
146,000 followers. It's just
That's amazing. Who's your dog?
It was basically my TikTok, so it's just Matt Geek Pride. It's my TikTok, which turned into his TikTok over lockdown because people are more interested in Tibetan Mastiffs than they are.
Dogs are cute.
No, I'm more interested in dogs.
That's basically what happened in lockdown was that I was really sad about how shit the kids were having it the time the kids were having, and I think they were just really happy that an old person cared.
Yeah.
So my videos got shared a lot, but I don't have lots of followers because I mean I have like 7,500.
Yeah,
not huge numbers, but I have hundreds of thousands of.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, the only reason Boz's or my TikTok or Boz's TikTok got famous was because one video got 13 million views because it was
that's what it takes.
It literally just him coming in out of the snow, and that sort of blew it up. But apart from that, like, my other videos don't get more than a couple of thousand views and stuff. Sometimes not very much because it's just me walking the dog and going, "This is the Tibetan Mastiff."
Sometimes it's a couple of hundred, and then one will go mad, and you'll have thousands, and you're like, "Oh, what
how do I recreate this? How do I get the? How do I recreate this?
What is it, Matt Geek?
Matt Geek Pride, all one word. Matt Geek Pride.
I thought I already follow you.
If you've got a big ass Tibetan Mastiff that's destroying the house all the time, that's probably me. So yeah, that's the last video was probably of Boz destroying my windows and me trying to fix it. Probably the last ones I did.
I have definitely seen your dog. Definitely seen your dog on TikTok.
Yeah, basically, I was looking at, I stupidly Googled myself, but apparently I'm one of the leading dog, the leading dog influencers for TikTok in the UK. I was like, really? I just literally took my dog for a walk, but yeah, it's quite amusing. Anyway, so
Well, I'm following you now.
well, thank you very much. You'll get one right back. Thank you very much, Kathryn. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please do come back on when you've got your book, and even if
I'd love to.
your agent doesn't like it, bring it back on anyway. Who knows? You know. Okay, so
everything happens for a reason.
yes. For tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been my co-host Peter Ray Allison.
Good night, everyone.
And our special guest, Kathryn Evans.
Good night.
Night. Bye.
Good night.